Hello and welcome to today's episode of Two Pigs in a Pod, a podcast for the people of Glazing by the people of Glazing. I'm your host, George, and I think today's show should be a good one as I'm delighted to welcome onto the show the Communications and Marketing Director of IQ Glass, Rebecca Clayton. Welcome onto the show, Rebecca.
Hi, thanks for having me.
No, it's always a pleasure to have someone like yourself on. So, as we always do, we want to find out a bit more about you and your career, which I know is a good one. So, yeah, let's crack on with it. Who are IQ Glass for those that don't know.
Mike Glass, we're an architectural glazing company. So what that means is that if an architect or another specifier, like a developer, or was designing a building and they needed something specific with the glazing, so like the design, they want it frameless, or they want a specific material, or they need a specific performance, like fire rated glazing or something like that, they would contact IQ, and then we would provide them with a design, and then we would do the installation of that glazing to meet all of their specification requirements. So we're really well known for frameless glazing, being really minimal, structural glass, slim sliding doors. But we also do lots of work with specialist materials like bronze and steel, and high performance glass like heated glass or electrochromic glass. So really we just source materials to meet the architect spec.
Nice. And let's take it back to the start of your career. How did you get into it in the first place, and what did you know about our sector before you started?
Well, I knew nothing. I had windows in my
That's
house.
the usual answer. So I would.
Yeah, yeah. I had. Really, I was. My daughter was just about to start primary school, and the job that I had was like an hour's drive away. So all I was doing was looking for a job that was local to where we lived, and I applied for this role at this company on an industrial estate in Watford, and that's kind of how I started. So I didn't know anything, and it was back when you had to I think I saw it in a newspaper. I didn't even look them up on the internet. I just applied and then got a call saying, "Come to this address at this time," and I turned up.
And what did you think when you got there, when you saw it for the first time? Did you really understand, what was going on and what the sector was all about, or was it too early to know anything? You was just ready to get the job first of all.
Yeah, so my concern at that point was getting the job, and also the office that were in when I started was in Watford, and it was a yard, and it had an office, and it wasn't anything special or interesting.
Yeah,
And the interview was in essentially the filing room that had a table and chairs in the middle. So you had like filing cabinets around you. So no, I had no understanding of what the company did at that point when I arrived, or what architectural glazing was, or I thought a window company was a window company,
yeah.
I was disabused of that notion very quickly.
Yeah. Yeah. So what was the day? Obviously, you got the job. So what was the first sort of few months of the industry like for you?
I think it was a very much a learning curve. So that how I got the job was a bit weird, because I didn't actually apply for what the job that I ended up getting was a technical sales executive job, but that's not
Yeah.
the job that I applied to. So I applied for the receptionist and office manager's job, and I went to the interview, and I had the interview with the then owner and sales director, and we did the interview, and then at the end, he kind of said, "Okay, the interview's over now. Let's just have a chat." So I was like, "Okay, weird, but yeah, let's have a chat." And in the interview, I'd said that I was a big reader. I like to read,
Yeah.
and so he said, "What book have you read in the past? What was the last book that you read?" And I think it was Hunger Games or something like that. I'd said. He said, "Oh, I've read that too. Summarize the plot for me." So I said, "Okay." So I
Mm.
summarized the plot, and then he started asking me really loads of specific questions about characters and locations and
Yeah.
the order that things happened. And so I was like, "Yeah, okay, fine, I can answer these questions." And so I answered the questions. And then at the end, he leant back in his chair and he was like, "So what I was doing there was I was trying to test your knowledge recall and how good
Yeah.
you are at verbally explaining things." And I think that you could do more than be the receptionist if you wanted to. How would you feel about joining me, and I'll make a new role for you as a technical sales executive, and I'll train
Yeah.
you up. And so I said yes. That sounds great. And I think that because my hiring wasn't planned, it wasn't like they had a business plan to hire somebody. There wasn't really a plan of what they wanted me to do
Yeah.
when I joined. They just kind of thought, oh, I think that she could probably do well. So I did lots of presentations and I did client facing meetings. But when I was in the office, I don't think they had any idea of what to do with me. So it was a little bit nerve wracking in those first few months because I didn't really know what was expected of me, and I
Yeah.
don't think they knew what they wanted me to do yet. I do remember being like, I'd been out in London at a meeting and I'd come back and the sales director like tore off the corners of loads of architects' drawings that they'd received previously and like put them down in front of me and said, call these people and see if they've got more work. And I felt very much like I'd been thrown in at the deep end. Um, but yeah, I just kind of like navigated my way through it, just used it to learn, and then eventually, like quite naturally, both me and the company kind of figured out what I was good at, what I enjoyed, and what
Yeah.
the business wanted from me. And then once that had happened, then it was easy. But yeah, those first few months were a bit hectic.
Yeah. What was that the plan though? Was you when you started off in when you went to the interview for that role, did you see yourself progressing to that kind of role eventually, but you just sort of bypassed a few bits and got the job straight away? Or is it something that was, you didn't you wasn't going for it, but got it and obviously then learnt on the job as such?
Yeah, I was really at that point in my life. I was just looking for a job that paid
Yeah.
the bills. I my daughter was like 4 or 5, and I was really just looking for a stopgap job that paid the bills up until she was a bit older. My ultimate plan was to go back to university and finish my
Okay.
degree. And so I just wanted a job at
Yeah.
that point. Um, but yeah, and then that's kind of like what I was looking for. I just wanted something. I wanted something that I found interesting,
Yeah.
and that I could utilize my brain. And so I really enjoyed the technical sales role when I got it, but I didn't even know what a technical sales job was.
Yeah.
Like, technical sales executive. Like, what does that mean?
Yeah.
What that means. But then I really I really enjoyed it. Like, my mind's quite analytical and technical, so I really enjoyed learning about the technical things. And then, as per my interview, I'm quite good at then communicating those. What I ended up doing is absorbing the really technical elements of architectural glazing and then computing those into messages and easy to digest information.
Yeah.
And what I didn't realize I was doing was marketing. And then my role kind of like slowly merged into a more communications and marketing role, but from that technical sales like starting point.
Yeah. So do you feel like that was a natural progression actually, that you kind of learn everything and then you were kind of then be becoming the person that was putting out those messages? It was a natural progression to go from to get technical sales, whatever that looks like for you, into actually a more communications and obviously marketing role.
I think it was natural for me just because of my communication style and like where my natural not talents, I hate that word, but like my natural inclination is to be a good communicator and being able to explain these kind of things. So for me, it was a natural progression to move in that direction. But lots of the technical sales team at IQ now, because we've got a much bigger team than when I was there, they would never ever like think of moving into marketing. But for me specifically, it was a very natural progression for my skill set, and also what the company needed at the time. I joined when the company was very small and very young, and at the right time, that it had when a company is smaller, you have a little bit more freedom to try things because there's less on the line if it doesn't work. Nobody's looking at you. Nobody knows who you are. I think it was the right time as well to join a company to make that progression as well.
Nice. And do you miss that technical sales role? Do you still sometimes think, oh, I could go back into it for a day or so to relive the old times?
No. To be honest, like I've actually kept quite a lot of the skeleton job that I had
Okay,
14 years ago.
nice.
So a big part of my job was going out and meeting architects and conducting CPD seminars and answering the phone and all of that. And I still do those things. I just don't do it full time, five
Yeah.
days a week. I maybe go out and do one CPD a month to maybe a target, like a VIP or a big practice. They'll kind of like wheel me out like out of storage and send me into London. But we've got teams that do that on a day to day basis now,
Yeah.
and yeah, so I still touch on the bits that I enjoyed, but I have been able to let go of the bits that were maybe not my cup of tea.
Yeah, nice. And what does your role look like now? Obviously, you like I said at the start, you're now at the top of the communications and marketing team. Like what does your day-to-day role look like now?
Yeah, so the majority of my day to day is managing the marketing and external communications from IQ, Glass, and all of our associated companies within the group as well. I work really closely with the sales teams and the sales directors as well. I'm really focused on messaging, making sure things are really consistent. We want everyone to get the same message at the same time. At the moment, I'm doing lots of research into new technologies. How could we utilize those? So that's really what my day to day is, kind of like overseeing the strategy, making sure that the teams are hitting their points and deadlines and things that they have to do, so that the ultimate aim is for us to grow, really.
Nice. And you said, obviously you oversee quite a lot, so you obviously see some of the projects that the IQ Glass work on. Is there been any standout projects, even from your start at IQ Glass, that you've gone, wow, these are some pretty impressive projects?
Yeah, it's really. I think it's really. It always like tugs at your sense of pride when you see maybe like a project that
Yeah.
we've provided the glazing for that has been featured in any of the architectural awards, so the Reba Awards or the Architects Journal Awards. So a couple of years ago, maybe 2023, we designed all of the glazing for a project called Rhodes House in Oxford that was with Stanton Williams and I think Beard were the contractors. And that was featured really, really heavily all throughout that year. And so it was always quite exciting to see that project because we knew that we'd provided the glazing, and it was really interesting. It had like really, really tall glass and integrated doors. I always personally find the listed or heritage
Yeah.
project really interesting because I think the architects have so many really like tight and crucial parameters to work
Yeah.
with. So it's always really interesting to see how they use architectural glass to overcome those and to solve a problem. And so we've done maybe last year we did a barn conversion in Yorkshire with a practice called Gagarin Studio. And what they did is they kept the external skin of the barn and
Yeah.
they built another skin inside that
Wow.
was insulated. And so we installed like slim sliders, double height sliders to fill the barn door openings and structural glass to fill in holes in the envelope. And that project was really interesting. When you look at it, it just looks like a barn conversion. But then when you start learning about it and what the architects did, and yeah, that was really, really interesting to be part of.
Yeah, I think that goes, for our sector in general, isn't it? That you don't really know the engineering that goes into it, because we say it time and time again on this podcast of sort of it just being a window or just being a door, and it's like actually there's a feat of engineering, and obviously on the architectural side it's to even greater lengths. But yeah, I feel like we see things so often in our daily life that we kind of feel, oh, it's just it's like, yeah, unbelievable things go
Yeah.
into a window, or a project like you said, like a barn conversion. There's, yeah, a lot goes into it.
It's not just a bit of glass and frame that goes into a hole.
No.
Um, it becomes like a working part of the external building envelope if it's external glazing.
Yeah.
And so there's lots of, you have to work really, really closely with the contractors, because at IQ we do the installation as well. So we're not just making things, we also do
Yeah.
the install. And so working really closely with at an early stage with the architect's detailing, what's the wall construction, how are we going to connect to it, and then through to the on-site as well. So it's a very collaborative
Yeah.
industry.
Yeah, massively so. And obviously you're a woman within our industry, and it's a talking point that's happened for many years, and we spoke about it on this podcast quite a lot as well. Like, how did it feel initially being the only woman in the business, and sort of how is it, do you feel it's changing over the time that you've been within our industry?
I think I did have an awareness that I was the only woman there, but it never was something that I didn't feel like an other. Like I
Yeah.
didn't feel like I wasn't part of the team.
Yeah.
I was very much part of that team, but I did feel a sense. I was aware that I was the first woman in that team, and I did feel a sense of responsibility, I
Okay.
think, to represent
Yeah.
women, to show that we can do it. Like
Yeah.
we know them. I can do this job. I can do this job. No better or worse than anybody else. And so that I was aware of that, and I did have a focus on that as like I want to prove myself. I want to prove that I can do this, and I think I was successful in doing that,
Yeah.
which was brilliant. I think that for me personally, in my like personal profession, I noticed the difference, and I became more aware of the difference when I became a more senior and moved into a more of a leadership role.
Yeah.
And that was really, and this is just my opinion, I do think that women have to manage and lead in a different way to men to get the same results.
Yeah.
And that's because of lots of different things. But because I had, I'd started at IQ when I was 24. It was my first proper job,
No.
and all of the leaders at IQ up until that point had been men. So
Yeah.
I had seen how they led, and they're really, really effective, like strong leaders. And I saw how I had been managed and how I had been pushed to achieve more and to push myself, and it was really effective
Yeah.
a way of managing people. And so then when I became a manager and a leader, just the natural inclination is I just mirrored that. I just did that,
Mm.
and I made lots of mistakes in my early years as a people manager and then also as a leader within the company, because you just can't do it the same way. You have to. You don't get the same results. I think that, and this is very, very stereotypical, but generally, men don't have to be liked to be respected.
Yeah.
So you can be quite harsh and quite bullish and very blunt, and people don't have to like you to think you're a really good leader and you know what you're doing.
Yeah.
But as a female director, I don't think that the same applies. So you do have to like soften your approach maybe, or adapt it, and yeah, so it took me a little while to realize why I wasn't getting the results with my team that I wanted.
Mm.
And so I had to learn quite quickly, like, how do I become a leader that suits my personality but also gets the results that you want. So I think the biggest difference of being a woman in a very male dominated environment didn't come until I was in that more senior position.
Yeah, and do you think that on the opposite to that, that actually the IQ Glass and the male senior leaders have learnt stuff from you being on, part of the senior leadership team, that actually they might have looked at it and said, yeah, actually we can do different approaches for different types of people or companies, that actually, yeah, it's actually helped them progress as a company.
Maybe, I hope so. You'd have to ask them. I do think that I spend a lot more time than I ever historically have in mentoring and team management, and I think that that is something that we are looking at as a company. I don't necessarily think that they're gonna. People will say, "Oh, we did it because Rebecca does it," but I think it's important that we are a company that has like really open levels of communication between all staff, and
Yeah,
that starts with the team that you're managing, making sure that they feel that they can speak to you and ask you questions and raise concerns without them feeling like they're doing something wrong.
yeah. Yeah. And
Yeah.
do you feel like now, obviously you've moved on, but now you're not the only woman and in the senior leadership team. Obviously, the group sales director is a
Yeah.
female as well. How does that feel? You were the first female in IQ class, and now it's you're not alone anymore. Is that a
Mhm.
a powerhouse thing to have, that there's two women within the senior leadership team?
Again, I don't think it's not something that we think about on a day-to-day
No.
basis. But I suppose if you take a step back and look at it from the outside,
Yeah.
it's. I think it says a lot about the culture and the team that we
Yeah.
have at IQ Glass. That wasn't even really a talking point. We never really have made a fuss about it. Because it's not a big deal. We're very much a meritocracy, and
Yeah.
if you work hard and provide value to the business, you'll be rewarded for that. So I think that the thing that I like about that is that it really highlights that about IQ. That it's not really that special or interesting to us
No.
internally
No.
because because it doesn't matter. But yeah, if you're looking at it from the outside, I think that it just kind of showcases the culture and the environment that we have here.
Yeah, and speaking from for those on the outside, would you recommend a career in glazing, not just as a woman within our industry, but as a we're all struggling to get people are retiring, and not many people are coming into our sector. So yeah, would
Yeah.
would you, would you recommend it, having seen where you've got in your career so far?
Yeah, definitely. It's very much it's the sexy part of construction, isn't it?
Yeah,
It's not like drains and pipes and things. So if you're looking to enter into the construction or manufacturing industry, glazing is the nicest bit in my opinion, but I'm
yeah,
obviously very biased. But yeah, like when we go and we do quite a lot of CPD, continual professional development seminars with
yeah,
architects, and they're always just so interested to learn about it because it's such an interesting material and area of building that is also always developing and growing. There's always new things. There's always new technologies and new products.
yeah.
So yeah, it's definitely an exciting and innovative part of the built environment to become a part of.
Nice. And lastly, for the main part of the podcast, taking a step back and doing things like this, how do you feel about your careers so far? It's been a pretty successful one, right? I know you're still sort of quite early on in your career, but it's been a pretty good, yeah, good career so far, right?
Yeah, I've definitely enjoyed it. I have. enjoyed the journey. I think that because I think I'm coming up to 14 years at IQ in May, and
Nice.
I just think because everything changes so quickly, and the company has changed and grown, and we became an
Yeah,
employee-owned company in 2024, which was like a whole new change,
amazing.
and
Yeah,
because the company is continuously evolving, it doesn't feel like 14 years. It definitely feels a lot shorter than that. So yeah, I think my what I value is whether I enjoy something. You don't want to go to do a job that you at a company that you don't enjoy or with people that you don't enjoy. And I've definitely enjoyed it.
nice. Well, before we move on, what's next for IQ Glass? It's obviously we spoke about a lot about you, but yeah, I'm sure that will listeners will want to know what's going on in the next, for the rest of this year and going forward more than that.
Yeah, so we're really focusing on our clients, to be honest. We're
Yeah,
really very much led by them. I know we sell products, but we also offer a service, and we are always led by what they need. We've got a real focus this year in sustainability
yeah,
and improving UW values with our product. So we've got a couple of projects that are just coming out of R&D at the moment that we'll be launching probably in the next 6 months that
nice.
maintain like really minimal sight lines, but are pushing towards, first of all, very low embodied carbon in the framework. So using 100% post-consumer aluminium to reduce the embodied carbon in any profiles, whilst pairing that with really good thermal performance. So I think that's going to be the focus for the coming year. But that's kind of like mirrors the focus of architects and buildings
Yeah,
in general,
yeah.
and we just have to answer that.
Nice, perfect. Well, thanks very much for the main part of the podcast. We're going to move on to our this or that round now. So if you've seen previous episodes, I'll just ask you quick questions, and it's just yeah, this or that. So the first
Yeah.
one, it's easy stuff. So the first question is: Are you an early starter or a late finisher?
Early starter. My alarm goes off at 4:30 in the morning,
Wow, that is an early start.
but I like to be in bed by 9. So
Do you prefer talking over the phone or by email?
email, so then you can edit as you go.
No. Coffee or tea?
Coffee, strong.
Very good. Are you a city break person or a countryside getaway?
Oh, I think that if I had to pick one, I would definitely go countryside, somewhere with trees.
Nice. Are you a routine person or a bit of variety in your life?
No routine. It drives everyone insane.
Sounds familiar. Are you a risk
Yeah.
taker or a risk manager?
Risk manager.
Nice, yeah. Are you a one big goal kind of person, or lots of small wins to get you there?
Small wins that are leading to the big goal. So you feel
Yeah,
like you're winning along the way.
yeah, nice. Summer or winter?
Winter, the outfits are better.
Nice. And lastly, are you a staying in person or going out?
Going out, you've got to
Yeah.
wear those outfits. Someone was sick.
Very true. Thank you very much. Well, for the last part of our podcast, we'd like to get guests to give a shout out. It can be people in the industry, out the industry, friends, family, whoever it may be. So, who your shout out or shout outs for?
Oh gosh. Feel like I've said too many nice things already about the people that I work with, so it's not good for me to say too many nice
The
things.
ego boost.
Yeah, they don't need it. Um, so I think if I'm thinking like professionally, then in my first week at IQ, I was taken along to a networking group that doesn't exist anymore, but it was called Property Solutions Hearts. And then it became my responsibility to go to this once a month.
Yeah.
And some of the people that I met there, I'm still in touch with, not like
Amazing.
regular in touch, but if I see them at an event, you immediately are like, oh, they're here. I've
Yeah.
got someone to talk to.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Becca Cranfield from Athena Stone Care and Nikki Bryden. as well. They were kind of like two key people that I met very early on in my career through these networking. And, they're part of the industry, but they're not part of glazing and they're not part of IQ. So they're definitely people that you can like bounce ideas off and complain to, and yeah. So I always enjoy it when I get to spend time with either of them.
Nice, perfect. Well, thank you very much, Rebecca, for joining us today on Two Pigs and Pod. It's been a real pleasure to obviously get to know you a bit more and about your amazing career journey and all about IQ Glass.
Yeah, brilliant. Thanks so much for having me, George. It was fun.
Yeah, pleasure. Well, that's it for today. So you can find this episode and all our others on our website, www.peopleinglazing.co.uk, on our YouTube channel at People in Glazing Society, and available to download on Spotify, Amazon Music, and Apple Podcasts. And whilst you're there, don't forget to like and subscribe so you never miss an episode. So thanks again for tuning in and see you in for another episode soon.